we're going to race. Welcome to this episode of Heartbreak Garage, and this is an unscheduled episode. I was hoping to be working on the Escort, but such is life, things don't go to plan. So I'm pouring myself a drink because after the week I've had, I need one. So I was hoping to be driving the Escort, not driving the Escort, but working on the Escort. But this week that wasn't meant to be. Mrs. Blackhands' Range Rover, the Mumbus 6500, broke down in spectacular fashion, and therefore I had to spend my time working that. Not only that, the central heating broke down in the house as well, so I spent a load of my time trying to sort that out and had to get a plumber involved in the end because I couldn't do it myself. Can't do everything. So after all that, no progress on the Escort this week, but here we have champagne motoring on lemonade money. So here we are in the workshop. It's late and it's a couple of degrees below freezing, but nevertheless. So there we have her, the Mumbus 6500, and it's Mumbus down. The Range Rover is not well. I'll put a picture in here. So Mrs. Blackhands broke down in her last night, and the problem was the brake pedal felt funny and then the warning light came on. So she could smell something funny as well, and she thought, oh, maybe the handbrake's stuck on. So she pulled over to the side of the road and shut the Range Rover down to investigate what was going on. And then she could see brake fluid leaking out the bottom. But when she went to restart, it wouldn't restart. So on these Range Rovers, if it doesn't see any fluid pressure inside the braking system, as a safety precaution, it won't let the engine start. So then she was stuck on the side of the road and she had to phone me, Mr. Blackhands, to come and rescue her. So I got it going and got her home, and now we're here in the workshop. I've already diagnosed that there's a brake pipe failure on the driver's front, so we got ourselves some new brake pipes. Now you've got to be careful with these brake pipes because they are handed, so yellow for right and green for left. We've also got a little airflow meter issue that I've been meaning to get to. We've got some new clips to hold the brake pipes on, and we're going to get to it. So as we can see, there's a terrible mess in here. It's dripping on the floor. It's no good. So we definitely know it's coming from this side. You can see, you know, she's getting a bit of rust on her. Might treat her to a treatment, but it's just the workhorse. So we'll just crack on. .22mm socket for the wheel. I always crack my wheel nuts off before I put the gun on them. Just good practice. Oh dear. So as we can see, the brake pipe itself is in relatively good condition. It's not bad. Discs are good, pads are good, but then what lurks behind the rubber boot? Rust, corrosion. That little dick there that's dripping is where it's supposed to be on, and she's not cool. Totally rotted away. Now I know this ain't the cleanest Range Rover in the world, but it is champagne motoring on lemonade money, and I paid not a lot of money for it, but now there is brake fluid everywhere. So let's get to changing this brake pipe. We're going to do this side and the other side. I've already done the rears previously, so now we'll do this and then we'll get it all bled up and do our airflow meter issue, because she's got her intermittent restricted performance problem as well, which I believe to be the airflow meter, and I'll talk to you about that soon. Right, so what we've got going on is the bolt is far too rounded off and the socket won't grip her, so I'm going to get something to get her out. We've got the old easy out set from Snap-on. Yes. Excellent, got her out. So there's another 10mm up there at the other end of the doohickey. So here's the clip for the top piece, and there is the fitting. Got myself a nice 11mm brake pipe spanner. Got to be careful with these, because sometimes they don't come undone very well and the pipe gets stuck and all kinds. This one's doing good, to be fair. There we go, fitting off. Nice strong pair of needle nose pliers. I just bought these off Lee, my Snap-on dealer, and I'm actually in love with these. So LN47 ACF, check them bad boys out. Adjustable as well, they're perfect for the job. I mean, you could reuse that one if you wanted, but realistically, let's just get a nice new shiny one on there. So now we've unbolted him from down here, but she's still tight. So what have we got? You come. There we go. Just tight on the fixing, and then we can see the extent of the situation that's happened. There's the old one and there's the new one. As you can see in the new one, with these particular ones, you get all brand new banjo bolts with nice washers on, all that. And the bit that failed, that bit there, just come completely to bits. So something for you all to watch out for. It's not the first time I've come across this. Anyway, let's get it back together. I'm going to be replacing the bolts we took out. So that one I had to use an extractor on, so can't be using that again. So what I've got is out of my stock, I've got some new bolts. They're an 8.8 high tensile, so they're plenty good enough, and we'll use them. They're the right length, so we're happy days. There's the brake pipe back on at the top. So on the brake pipe there's a flat spot on one side of it, like a horseshoe, that faces upwards, and then you just put the clip in. You want to make sure the locking tab locates properly into the top arm. Otherwise it'll be wiggling round on you. Right. So here we go, new brake pipe in. We got clipped in and attached at the top, bolted in under the top arm, bolted to the hub assembly. It loops around, goes back and then down, and new banjo fitting and into the caliper. Make sure you don't leave the old copper washer behind on there, because you don't want that. And then clip the ABS lines back on, and then it's bleeding time. But I've got to do the other side, so I'll rejoin you when it's time to bleed the system up. Now bleeding the brakes. I've done all four wheels and I've followed the Land Rover which wheel to do first, manual, and also use the diagnostic machine. I've got the old Sykes Picavan pressure bleeder on there, and she's doing the job beautifully. So before long we'll have nice brakes again, and we've just got the airflow meter. I'm also going to, seeing as I'm here, I'm going to do a quick oil and filter on her, and we'll all be happy days. And we're going to have a blast around with a bit of brake cleaner, clear everything off, so everything's all lovely again. And that'll be brake pipe job done. If it don't fit, don't force it. And she's up and running again. Now it's time, I'm going to let her run up and get a bit of heat into her. I'm going to let her stand, and then I'm going to dump the oil and get that swapped out, and we'll all be happy days. Now you can either suck the oil out with a sucky tool, or you can just pull the pipe off the bottom of the sump and drain it. So I'm just going to pull the pipe off the bottom of the sump when I turn it off. And then, so part one of the operation is done, 2 more parts to go. So there we go. All the wetness you can see under here and dampness has come from that brake pipe, because I had to fill her up and move her about a bit. So we're just going to pull this pipe off here. See, there, that one. And we'll let the oil drain. You need to make sure that push fit plastic connection is on properly, because if it's not and it comes off, your engine is brown bread. So let's change the filter and get some oil in her. 32mm socket on the oil filter cap. So we've got the filter cap off, paper element filter inside, and she was ready to be changed. So we'll get rid of her. Also, there's a seal here, and I've got a seal spoon rather than a screwdriver because I've got sharp edges. We peel it off and happy days. Oops. Clear her out with a load of brake cleaner. And we're all clean. Get our new filter, which is on the earlier Range Rovers and Discovery 3s, they had a weird plastic thing with a nipple on the bottom that you had to locate, but on the 3 litres it's just a normal paper element. Put the O-ring on. Slot it in, nice and clean, and put some oil around the seal, and then we'll bang her back in the car. So, new filter in, bit of oil around the O-ring. You got to watch your glow plug wires while you're putting it in, and the fuel pipes, because you can get all tangled up in them. 25 Newton meters is the torque setting for the filter cap. I'm going to wind her on down. Right, she's snugged down now, and 25. Ideal. Alright, so she takes 5.9 litres of oil, UK litres, and it's a 530 synthetic low ash oil, and in she goes. I've already put 4 litres in, so I'm just topping it off now. That'll work. Part 3 of this is we've got a restricted performance fault when we're driving. So she'll start up and everything will be fine, and it'll drive for a little bit, and then it'll go into a restricted performance, and it intermittently puts the engine management light on as well. It'll go into restricted performance, it'll put the red triangle warning on, but it won't always illuminate the engine management light. And when we go in, we've got a code for the water in the fuel, which I know about, which is a bad sensor, but that won't affect us. It just puts the yellow light on, so I'm going to ignore that for now. There's a recession on. But it's got this manifold absolute pressure, mass or volume airflow correlation fault. So, as you can gather, I didn't need to put an airflow meter on, so I didn't. I'd only assumed from the symptoms it was giving that it was an airflow meter issue. That's why I got one in. Well, got one out of stock. But what it was a airflow meter and absolute manifold pressure sensor correlation issue. So this is the fact of the readings that are being taken from the 2 airflow meters are not matching the readings being taken from the absolute manifold pressure sensor. When the equation is done in the brain of the car, it's thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on here? This isn't within parameters, and then it brings up your correlation issue. So if you get correlation problems, it's more than likely that it isn't a faulty sensor, but you've got some kind of leak somewhere, and that is giving you the readings that are out of parameters, so you get your correlation issue. A correlation issue between the airflow and the absolute manifold pressure sensor. So we had a better look and we found a crack right here. But it just so happens I think I've got a spare one that might fit, so we're going to try that now. Oh, she's oily. Really horrible. Right. I dug a bit further in and found that in a previous life, all this has been glued, and then we got someone else to rev it. Well, I looked and I could see it was just leaking. So I got another one off, this is one I had floating round, and this was a 2.7 one, but mine's a 3 litre. So I just had to change the flap control motor and put my airflow, my manifold absolute pressure sensor in it, and now I'm going to fit it up, and I'm hoping it's problem cured. I can't see nothing. And she fits. EGR pipes back on. Come on now, play the game. There's one. Yep, tight, yep. Right, we'll get this gizmo on. Got to make sure this all goes on perfectly. Any leaks round here and it's you're in trouble. Why won't you go on right? See, it's not on correct. Supposed to be a push fit. They never quite work out that way when they get to these high milers. Nothing goes back together the way it should do. There we go, now we're on. That there, wire in there. There we go. Right. So, the Range Rover, the Mumbus 6500 is now back on the road. We've done the brake pipes, we've done the oil and filter. We've also made her run right. She's been suffering with that engine management fault for a couple of weeks now and I haven't had time. But I thought it was an airflow problem, but it wasn't. As you can see, it's just falling apart. I think it's been bodgy fixed in the past before I owned it. That's the underneath, that's the top. And it's just broke up, and that's what was giving us our airflow issue. So that was champagne motoring on lemonade money, and if it don't fit, don't force it. So with all that done, we're at the end of the video, and it wasn't the most exciting video in the world, but it's true to life and it's what happened to me. So from the Black Hands household, thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. And from me and Mr. Potato Head, I'll see you next time. Hopefully, next time will be an escort video. Cheers.